Beneath the soil, in a world carved by silence, lies a kingdom long forgotten. Once this kingdom thrived, once it shone, but now its halls echo only with tragedy. You wander its tunnels, you wander its endless ruins as the faint cries of creatures long lost to madness surround you. This is Hallownest, where Hollow Knight takes place. To understand why this kingdom fell, why its residents turned hollow and its gods now slumber in ruin, we must unravel its story. Hollow Knight is a tale told in fragments, in broken memories, in statues half buried, and whispers etched into corridors. With the launch of long-awaited Silksong, Hornet's story will carry this legacy into a new land. And I'm Arcadenaut here, and today we will dive into the world of Hollow Knight, the setting, the lore, and the story that defined Hallownest, so that you will be ready when Silksong arrives. Hallownest was once the jewel of the insect world, a vast underground empire ruled by the Pale King. Before his arrival, this land was not unified. It was wild, dangerous, filled with tribes and creatures, each with their own gods and ways of life. Deep in these caverns, worship was given to the Radiance, a higher being of light, dreams, and influence. For many, the Radiance was more than a god. It was the very fabric of their existence. Then one day came the Pale King, born of the void, mysterious and alien even among the insects. He descended into Hallownest, bringing with him something greater than divinity. Conscious thought, where the Radiance inspired devotion, the Pale King offered clarity as he promised his subjects not dreams but reason, an escape from instinct, a future forged by choice. The tribes of Hallownest, mantises, bees, flies, spiders, and countless others, they all knelt before him. One by one, they turned from their old gods and pledged themselves to this new king. In time, the Pale King raised a glorious city, carved from stone and crowned with his palace. The City of Tears, forever reigning from caverns above, became the heart of his kingdom. However, this unity came at a cost. Faith was replaced with loyalty, instinct was abandoned for order and structure, and those who resisted, like the ancient moth tribe which is sworn to the Radiance, they were slowly erased from history. In silencing the gods of old, the Pale King planted the seeds of Hallownest's downfall. The Pale King was not always a ruler of Hallownest. He was once something far more greater. Known as an ancient worm, a colossal being of endless hunger and power. Worms burrowed endlessly through mountains and wastelands, their vast bodies reshaping the land wherever they roamed, and for ages, this particular worm wandered without purpose, until it reached what would become Hallownest. There in Kingdom's Edge, the worm abandoned its former body. In that moment, the worm reduced itself into a smaller, humbler form, becoming the Pale King, so that he might walk among the bugs he wished to rule, not as an untouchable god, but as a monarch they could gladly follow. Soon after his transformation, from his radiant white palace, the Pale King reshaped destiny itself. As a higher being, one who could see fragments of the future and bestow sapience upon creatures that had once lived only by instinct, with Pale King's acts, tribes across the Hallownest awoke to consciousness. The mushrooms of the fungal waste bent to him because of his foresight, while the proud mantises respected his strength. Even some of the moths, once devoted to Radiance, their goddess of dreams and light, these moths turned away, pledging themselves instead to the Pale King. His appearance crowned with horns, radiant in presence so bright that his citizens carved idols in his likeness, raised monuments in his honor, and believed that he had created the world itself. The Pale King was not just obeyed, soon he was worshipped. As the time passed, he offered them a promise of Hallownest lasting forever, and for a time it actually did. He built the stagways and trams connecting his vast empire. He oversaw grand architecture, sealing his mark into every stone. Hallownest became a beacon of civilization in the dark, a kingdom unlike any other. However, the Radiance was not gone, but she was only forgotten. Buried beneath the memory, exiled from devotion, she lingered in dreams, patiently waiting. When her chance came, she struck, not with armies but with infection. A sickness that burned through minds, corrupting insects into husks, devouring their thoughts, twisting them back into the worshippers she had lost. To fight against this, the Pale King and his queen, the White Lady, came up with a grim plan. They both turned to abyss. From the void, they birthed the vessels, their own children of shadow and shell, born in the abyss with void inside of them, created for a single purpose: to contain the Radiance forever. Among them, one was chosen above all others, and it was the Hollow Knight. Raised within the White Palace, the Hollow Knight was meant to be flawless, without desire, without any weakness. However, his father, the Pale King, faltered. By the time he grew attached, allowed himself to care. Their affection was a crack in the Hollow Knight's purity, a flaw that would one day doom Hallownest. Soon after, the Hollow Knight was sealed within the Temple of the Black Egg, binding the Radiance inside, and for a time, Hallownest endured. However, the seal was already weakened, with the infection slowly beginning to spread once again. The eternal kingdom the Pale King promised began to collapse. The Pale King believed he had silenced the old gods, but instead he had only delayed their vengeance. His pride doomed the Hallownest to the same cycle he had tried so desperately to escape. Yet Hallownest's story does not end with the Hollow Knight sealing. In time, the infection returned, spreading once more through the veins of the kingdom. Its people twisted into husks, its cities emptied, its king vanished, leaving behind only silence and ruin. It is here that you, the knight, descended into Hallownest. At first glance, the knight is nothing, small, silent and forgotten, a wanderer from beyond, drawn to the remnants of a kingdom long since collapsed. The knight is no ordinary traveler, it is a vessel, one of many children born of the void, discarded into the abyss as flawed. Where the Hollow Knight was chosen, the rest were abandoned, yet this discarded vessel, smaller, weaker and forgotten, becomes the one to walk the ruins of Hallownest when all else has failed. And along the way, companions appear, souls who embody Hallownest's lingering humanity. Quirrell, a traveler searching for answers to mysteries, Beretta, a lost heart dreaming of heroes, Zote, arrogant yet fragile, and most importantly, Hornet, the fierce guardian, both rival and ally. As Knight heads down to Hallownest trying to find a way to the Black Egg Temple, it discovers that the path is not theirs alone. To end this cycle, the Knight must confront the Dreamers, three guardians bound to eternal sleep, sealing the Temple of the Black Egg and with it, the Radiance inside. Monomon the Teacher, Lurian the Watcher, and Hera the Beast each gave their lives to maintain the seal. And only their destruction can open the way forward to where Radiance is sealed, within the Hollow Knight. As the Dreamers fall, the truth emerges. This cycle was never broken. The Hollow Knight still suffers, the Radiance still burns, and Hallownest still decays. The real question is no longer whether the kingdom can be saved, but whether sacrifices will ever be enough. Before talking about the cycles and how the Hollow Knight's endings are shaped based on the achievements of the knight, let's talk about the protagonist of Silksong, Hornet. Among all the figures who stand in the knight's path, none loom larger than Hornet. She is not merely a rival or a guardian, her very existence embodies the delicate balance of Hallownest's fate, as she is the daughter of two worlds. Born of Heir the Beast, one of the dreamers and matriarch of Deepnest and the Pale King himself, Hornet carries both royal blood and the strength of Hallownest's fiercest tribe. This union was not born of love, but out of bargain. Heir agreed to her eternal sleep as a dreamer only if the Pale King gave her a child, and that child was Hornet. This lineage makes Hornet unique. She's not a vessel of void, nor a creature of instinct, but something in between. Hornet was bound by duty, sharpened by survival, and driven by heritage. When she crosses blades with the knight, it is never aimless. Her role is to test, to weigh whether this discarded vessel is truly strong enough to carry the burden of Hallownest's fate. Yet Hornet is more than a gatekeeper as well. She is also a mirror, a reflection of what the knight is not. Hornet has identity, will, and a choice. Where the knight was meant to be hollow, Hornet fights not because the destiny binds her, but because she chooses to defend what remains of her kingdom. This duality is why Hornet endures after Hallownest's fall. While vessels are destined to be forgotten, Hornet's bloodline anchors her. Her mother's pact, her father's legacy, and her own choices carve her path forward. It is obviously no accident that she will rise as the protagonist of Silksong, for her story is the continuation of the Hallownest's tragedy into Pharloom. Pharloom is said to be a land of silk and song, a mirror of Hallownest in its own right. Basically, if Hallownest was defined by silence and shadow, Pharloom may be defined by voice and light. Yet history tells us that no kingdom is eternal. Hornet's story will not be one of wandering aimlessly like the knight, but of being hunted, tested, and challenged as the central figure of a new land's fate. Whether she can overcome the burdens of her lineage, or whether she will continue the tragedies of the past, remains as the unanswered question that Silksong will finally reveal. The story of Hollow Knight is a tale of cycles: sacrifice without resolution, kingship without salvation, and gods that refuse to die. The Pale King sought to silence the Radiance, yet only delayed her vengeance. The Radiance sought worship eternally, yet she was doomed to be forgotten. The Hollow Knight was meant to be pure, but cracked under affection, and even the knight, in all their silence and perseverance, faces the same truth. No matter the path chosen, the cycle continues. Each possible conclusion offers a different perspective, yet all are tied by the same thread. That is, sacrifice. In the initial ending, we see the knight defeating the Hollow Knight, absorbing the Radiance and sealing itself, taking its place as the newest seal for the Radiance. However, in the sealed siblings ending, the knight defeats the Hollow Knight together with Hornet, but they take the Hollow Knight's place. The Radiance remains trapped, still burning within, and the cycle merely resets. The Vessel of Silence becomes another prison, another sacrifice, with Hornet being one of the seals, just like her mother. In the Dream No More ending, the knight goes further. By wielding the Dream Nail and gaining the aid of the Hollow Knight, the fight extends beyond the prison into Radiance's very essence, where the Radiance is confronted and destroyed by both the knight and the Hollow Knight. Hallownest finds its brief release, but not without consequences. The knights still sacrifice themselves, consumed by the void, their existence erased in the act of salvation. The cycle is ended, but only through annihilation. And in the Embrace the Void ending, often considered as the truest resolution, the knight ascends into something beyond vessel by uniting the power of the void. The discarded child of the abyss transforms itself into a Shade Lord, a higher being of darkness capable of overwhelming the Radiance entirely, and in this outcome, the void itself becomes the final answer to the cycle. Devouring light and silence alike, binding Hallownest's tragedy in an endless shadow. Each ending is shaped by Knight's choices and achievements, but they all share one haunting truth. Hallownest cannot be saved. The kingdom was built on false promises, on silenced gods, and on sacrifices that only postponed the inevitable. And in every path, victory feels temporary, both with pain and always at the cost of self. And finally, Hornet's path. As we await for the Silksong, we will ask a new question. Can legacy be more than a burden? Can the thread of fate be rewoven, or is every kingdom destined to echo Hallownest's fall? As we step into Pharloom, we do not leave Hallownest behind, but we carry its echoes with us. The Pale King's ambition, the Radiance's vengeance, the Hollow Knight's suffering, and the Knight's sacrifice. These are the shadows that shape Hornet's story, and they will guide us into the song yet to be sung. And I hope you enjoyed today's video. Which part of Hollow Knight have you enjoyed the most, and what do you expect from Silksong? If there is any other lore recap you wish me to cover next, be sure to share them by the comments below. Any humble support through Patreon and YouTube join is really appreciated, and I will see you soon in my next video.